so in love with you.
Hey everybody, it's In and Earl from Behind the Vow, and we are back to talk about a topic that we felt that you ought to know about. And today we are going to talk about why
relationships
fail. We are, I guess,
just some of the reasons.
yeah, well, just some of the reasons. And these aren't the reasons that are etched in stone, but they are very legitimate reasons and reasons that we hear a lot of in our counseling business that we have. And so, you want to start off, Earl?
Sure. And that. So yeah, we wanted to talk about some reasons why relationships fail, and one of the bigger things we thought was that people enter into serious relationships way too quickly.
Way too quick.
Right? They date 2 times, 3 times, and I'm not saying that there's not some attraction, there's not a spark, but they decide to move very quickly. They move in together within a couple weeks, a couple months, and all of a sudden, 3 months later, we're going to get married. We're in this relationship forever and a day. But what happens is, first of all, they really don't know one another.
Exactly.
I'm a slow mover, guys. Okay, just to let you know, I'm going to take a while to get to know you before I start doing things that I typically would only do when I'm by myself. And what happens is in these relationships, we come to find 2-3 months down the line that the person that we thought was really isn't, but they actually were.
Right.
You just didn't know it.
Had no idea.
You had no idea.
Yeah.
So we wanted to caution everyone from entering into serious relationships way too quickly. We give a lot of weight to these relationships. We put a lot of trust into an individual even that has yet to even prove themselves.
Exactly.
And trust is something that's built up over time.
Yeah.
And we're not saying that you don't, that you initially don't want to trust an individual. However, we all know there are levels of trust, and trust is a process that grows over time. And if you truly don't know an individual, you really can't trust them. And you don't know how they're going to respond under certain pressures and certain predicaments, because quite frankly, you only know them for 2 or 3 weeks. And you keep a lot of stuff hidden for 2 or 3 weeks.
You give a lot of stuff hidden for 2-3 months.
I know I could.
Yeah, I could. And I know that we go into this love at first sight thing. Even the little show Married at First Sight. What's the success rate?
Oh, it's less than 30%.
So it's 2 out of the 9.
Something like that.
So even the Marriage at
Those
First
are
Sight,
experts.
and these are experts putting people together. So even that's not working. What we're saying is, yes, it does work, but in very, very small instances. So relationships that come too quickly, we love all the aura and the birds are singing, the birds are chirping, and the angels are singing, and all of that. But get to know the person. We all have flaws. We all have these things that aren't so great about ourselves. You gotta want to put up with those things that aren't so great about.
I think if you can, if you're willing to love somebody when you see them at their worst, that's a good indicator that you might be able to experience a relationship. But you have to know that person for a while before you can experience them at their worst, because it's not the great things about the person that going to cause the issue in the relationship. It's those bad things. It's those hidden things that we don't know about because we haven't given each other time. I mean, think about it. Even if you do believe this is the person that you want to marry, this is the person you want to be with, you can't imagine yourself without them, right? Time's not running anywhere.
It is not.
If you're going to be that in 3 months, then certainly nothing will happen to destroy that in another 4 or 5 months. If you're supposed to be together, if this is truly the one that you believe, that you love and loves you, and you'll ride or die in it through thick or thin, 2 or 3 months, 4 or 5 months, even a year is not going to make a difference. It's not going to change that, right? And if it is, then that probably wasn't the person
that you're
anyway.
supposed to be with.
So we do caution moving into serious relationships too quickly. There are a whole lot of other issues it can cause.
Yes.
Particularly if what happens is a lot of times families become an issue.
Yeah.
We've moved into these relationships very quickly, and we're in a situation where, okay, Sally's been on her own for a while, Billy's been on his own for a while, and you're used to doing those things like you did them when you were on your own.
Right.
But when you're in a relationship, all of that has to change. Right? Sally's used to putting family first on her side, and Billy, you're used to putting your family first.
Yeah.
And what happens is there becomes a conflict of interest. Right? Because now, even those who got married quickly, you're supposed to put each other first. Not to ignore or disparage your family relationships, but if you're truly developing a relationship that you feel is going to be that everlasting love, then you have to be first to one another.
For one another.
And you can't have your families interfering.
Right.
But first of all, you move so quickly, you might not even understood that family dynamic.
Right.
You didn't know that she was so close with her sister that it was going to actually get on your last nerve. And that she was going to tell your sister everything that happened about you.
Exactly.
You didn't know that Billy was so close to his brother that they were two peas in a pod. And they can't do anything without each other. So every time you guys get together, now it seems that Billy's brother's sitting right next to you, in between you and the couch. Those things happen, and we have to remember those, but that's also part of moving into a relationship too quickly.
And let's even talk about, let's do a part B to how we make families before relationships. A lot of times we get into these relationships and we start having babies before we get to really know one another. You know, we never had a baby before, and then we find this guy or we find this girl that we just, you know, like I said, the heavens open up, and then we pop up pregnant, and then wow, we have this baby, and we think, hey, this is the relationship, this is what we're gonna be in, and then there's a problem. Because that's not your serious relationship. This is not what was meant to be. And so now we have a child in the mix, and we don't have a serious relationship. We don't have a relationship that was meant to stay there because it was never tested in the first place. And so, you know, it's very, very difficult to, we got to keep the dynamic correct. Learn, like we talked before when we first started, learn to see if that's who you're supposed to be. Let's not put children before relationship, before the dynamic of learning between
one another.
Right. I mean, you know, now you got 3 people in the mix, and now I'm stuck with you for the rest of this child's life, and I might not even like you at the end of it, right?
You make a very good point. Children, the blessing they are,
yes,
typically do not enhance already maybe troubled relationship or even an early relationship, because it's not ready to stand, like she said, the test, right? What have you done in your life to prove yourself that has not been tested? You can't even have your job without sometimes passing a certification test. You couldn't get out of school without passing a test. You couldn't get your degree without passing a number of tests. You can't know if your relationship can stand the test of time without tests.
Test, yes.
Everything is great when everything is great.
Yes.
When it's smooth sailing, when you got the rainbows and gumdrops and the unicorns are dancing, frolicking through the tulips. That's when everything works out. That's when you can't stop looking at them with the goo-goo eyes. You know, everything's great. However, what happens when it starts to go wrong? What happens when it starts to go downhill? What happens when, I don't know, maybe the finances go sour?
Yeah.
What happens when the communication falls off? What happens when the intimacy dies out? What happens in these tests are the true tell of how strong your relationship is.
Yeah.
And because we moved too quickly into the relationship was never tested. Therefore, 6-7 months in, tests start to occur,
Yeah.
and we start to fail those tests.
Yeah.
And then that's when we start to say, maybe I made a mistake. Maybe this isn't the person. And you know, and the sad thing is that sometimes this could have been that perfect
Right.
person for you, but because you didn't give it enough time,
Yeah.
because you didn't allow it to mature, you've taken what could have been a beautiful, long-lasting relationship, and you found a way to break it too
Yes.
early, right?
Wow.
You didn't read the instruction manual. You ever had something you didn't read the instruction manual? You try to figure it out or put it together, and you break something because you move too fast, and you've broken something that could have been an opportunity for beauty.
Wow.
It happens.
I like that.
Oh, I like it too.
Yeah, that was kind of good. No, that was real. You know, we hear, I hear from a lot of women about how when they start off liking a guy, or when they meet a guy, he likes the, you know, or a guy says, oh, I like the way she, you know, first of all, how she carried herself, how she was a go-getter, and how she did this and how she did that. And then when she met the guy and she found out that he had, and, you know, he was this and that, then she kind of pulled back on her go-getness, I guess that's a word, you know. And then all of a sudden the relationship was in peril. And I think what we do is we lose ourselves in the haste to get into a relationship. You know, you should never ever, these are why relationship ends so quickly, because we are so bent on getting into one that we settle into one too quickly. You know, I want this man. He looks like he's there. He's everything I want. And then everything you work for, you're willing to compromise because he's everything that I think that I want. And I ask women all the time, you worked for this degree, you worked for this job, you worked for this bank account. Why all of a sudden do you need all of his stuff? And he's looking like, well, I wanted you because you had that job, you had that bank account, you had that. And then we just settle and forget about who it is we are. Those relationships don't work. They don't work, and they start off working sort of like a car. You know how you start a car, and they start, and then when they get down the road, they kind of stall.
It's kind of stall out.
Yeah, those are the kind of relationships.
That's a good analogy. Relationships stall out.
Yeah, they really do stall out.
So. No, by no means is she saying that you won't have to compromise and change during a relationship, but you should not be willing to just lose yourself completely in order to gain what you believe that this person has, which you're not quite certain they really have, because it really hasn't been long enough to determine if that's what they really have.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So, I think the last one we wanted to hit on why relationships fail is we go into physical attraction before we go into
psychological, mental, social
compatibilities, right? Woo!
I mean, we all
look
good. Yeah,
right?
she looks good.
Woo! He looked good. I don't know what they do. We are old now. What do they do?
I don't know. I guess they still think you look good. I think you look good.
Thank you, babe.
But yeah, look, we all understand there has to be a physical attraction, man, right? Nobody wants to marry or be in a relationship with anybody they consider unattractive.
You know.
However, we also need to understand that attractiveness is not going to make your relationship last. Oh, thank you very much. That attractiveness is not going to make that relationship. That's not a foundation that relationship is going to be able to be built upon. That attraction, they say, beauty is fleeting.
Yes.
Right?
I don't think people understand what that means.
Okay, so I know I look really good now, but I used to look a whole lot better. I think when I was in my 20s. When I was in my 20s. Beauty's only skin deep. We've heard that before. Beauty's only skin deep.
Yeah.
If anybody's out there, you ever met an attractive person and initially you was like, man, they really look good, and they're very attractive, and you get to know them, and you just do not like their personality. And what you once thought was the greatest looking thing since sliced bread, you like, oh, they now they seem so ugly to you.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we're talking about. We need to take the time, understanding that there needs to be a physical attraction, but even more important needs to be that emotional and that psychological and that mental attraction, because those are the things that are going to be the foundation that you need to build that relationship on. Attractiveness from appearance is just not going to last.
It does not last.
It's not going to last.
It
is a fleeting, what the big bad wolf blew down the house of straw and the house of stick. It's not built with bricks or stones. And what we want you to do is, of course, you want to be attracted to your significant other. However, I also want you to realize that you need to take the time to get to know that individual for who they are here, right?
Exactly.
And who they are here.
Exactly.
And this is what we need to be loving.
Exactly.
We need to be loving who they are here and who they are here.
Yep.
This is what we need to fall in love with. This is what's going to keep you. This is what's going to maintain you over the time. This is going to be the thing you draw on when they've gotten on your last nerve, when you're going through that test and you're finding out that maybe Billy isn't as strong in this area as I thought he was. This is what you're going to have to draw on to say, I want to stick in this relationship because I love Billy, because I love Sally. This is what I'm going to have to draw on here, right? The skin, that's not going to keep you there in those tough times. It's not going to keep you there during those tests.
Yes, ma'am. And ladies, let me say this to you, because we are the biggest proponent of getting a dude that looks good, got the nice body, the six-pack, dressed nice, got the nice car, and you follow him home and maybe he got a nice house or his own apartment, and if he doesn't, he live with his mom and you can deal with that. I mean, But I'm going to tell you something. If you do not go after a man that treats you for you, who loves you for you, and makes you feel like you are the best thing that God has given him, and that you two can conquer the world, and that you are the best looking thing, and you don't have to be the best looking thing, but in his eyes, you are the best looking thing, that he sees you through God's eyes, and that means you are the best looking thing in the world. I need for you to go after that, because just going after these dudes because of this physical stuff, you're missing out on what you deserve. You're missing out on what's for you. And what's for you, we always talk about God's got somebody for you, but what he has for you might not look like what you think it should look like. And you need to be okay with that, because they're going to, if you ask God, God, help me to see whoever it is that you have for me through your eyes, you're going to fall in love, and they are going to be the best looking thing, right? They are going to be the best looking thing that ever was. I need us to get away from this physical attraction stuff, because that's going to come. You never know. I've seen good looking guys 20 years down the road, pot bellies, right? You know, they just don't look the same. You're like, whoa, what happened to them? Like he said, it's fleeting. You just change in life. You know, you get bigger, you get older, your metabolism changes, all that other stuff. But what we want you to do is start out right so that you can end up right, right? We don't want your relationships to fail. So, that is our take on why relationships fail, and we want you to be successful in all that you do, right, babe?
Definitely.
So if you like this video, please like it, and we want you to make a comment. If you have a comment, please put it in the comment box. Please be nice. If you have something that you want to say to us personally, you have something that you want us to help you out with, please email us at Annette at Behind the Vow. That will also be in the comment box. We'll leave all of that there. And our website will also be there. Our Instagram and our Facebook. All of that will be in the comment box. But most of all, share and subscribe to our channel. Right? Subscribe. And share us. Tell other people about us.
Let your friends know.
Yeah. You'll see videos from me. You'll see videos from Earl talking to the guys, talking to the girls. But most of all, you'll see us talking to you. And you'll also see us driving Behind the Vow too, right?
Yeah, we drive sometimes.
Hey, it's Annette and Earl coming to you from
Behind
the
the
Vow. Thanks so much for listening, and we will see you next time. Bye.